After the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Japanese forces turned their eyes toward the Philippines. With little opposition, they swept across the South China Sea Islands, all except one, Corregidor. A small rocky island guarding the entrance to Manila Bay, known as the finest harbor in the Orient, Corregidor stood as the last obstacle between Japan and total control of the Philippines. Its defenders were a mix of American soldiers, sailors, Marines, and hastily trained Filipino troops. Against impossible odds, they braced for the storm to come. For 5 relentless months, Corregidor, known as the Gibraltar of the East, endured continuous bombardment from air and sea. The sky rained fire, the ground shook daily, and yet the island held. But when Bataan fell in April 1942, Japanese General Masaharu Homma unleashed over 50,000 men to finally crush the fortress once and for all. Japan's empire was expanding across the Pacific, from China to the Philippines, threatening Australia and beyond. The British Empire was losing ground in Europe, and the United States faced a new reality: war on 2 fronts. Months before the attack on Pearl Harbor, American planners had drafted Rainbow 5, a defensive strategy that left much of the Pacific, including the Philippines, dangerously exposed. But General Douglas MacArthur, commander of U.S. forces in the Far East, believed the islands could be held if war broke out. He began training a massive Filipino army, but time ran out. When war came, the defenses were incomplete. On December 8th, just hours after Pearl Harbor, Japanese aircraft struck the Philippines. The American air fleet, once hailed as the greatest bomber force in the world, was wiped out on the ground. One by one, the islands fell: Luzon, Mindanao, the Lingayen Gulf. Only Bataan and Corregidor remained. Corregidor's defenses were formidable: dozens of massive coastal guns, anti-aircraft batteries, and tunnels carved deep into the rock. It was designed to withstand naval assault, but not air power. The Japanese bombed the island 300 times. Day after day, the defenders fought hunger, exhaustion, and despair. By March 1942, General MacArthur was ordered to leave under the cover of night. Before departing, he issued his now famous command: "No further retreat is possible. Men who fight will save themselves and their country. If we fight, we will win. If we retreat, we will be destroyed." But despite their courage, by April, the Bataan Peninsula fell. Corregidor stood alone, battered, cratered, stripped bare of trees and hope. On May 5th, 1942, under the light of a burning sky, the Japanese launched their final assault. Artillery thundered for hours before waves of landing craft struck the beaches. The defenders, U.S. Marines, sailors, and Filipino soldiers, fought back fiercely, armed with what little ammunition they had left. Hand-to-hand combat raged through the tunnels and shattered fortifications. Bayonets, grenades, and raw courage became the last weapons of the desperate. But sheer numbers prevailed. By dawn, Japanese tanks rolled ashore. The defenders fell back to the Malinta Tunnel, now packed with over 3,000 wounded men. Realizing the slaughter that would follow if the tunnel was breached, General Jonathan Wainwright made the hardest decision of his life. He sent a message to President Roosevelt: "There is a limit to human endurance, and that point has long been passed." At 2 p.m. on May 6, 1942, Wainwright surrendered Corregidor. The flags were burned. The guns fell silent. When the Japanese demanded he order all remaining Philippine forces to surrender, Wainwright hesitated until enemy bombers dropped 88 tons of explosives on his already defeated troops. With no other choice, he complied. The battle for Corregidor was over. Its fall marked the end of organized Allied resistance in the Philippines and the beginning of Japan's brief dominance in the Pacific. Yet from the ashes of the rock, the spirit of its defenders endured. Those who survived would forever be known as the Corregidor Marines. 3 years later, in February 1945, American and Filipino forces returned and finally reclaimed the island fortress that had become a symbol of unbreakable courage.